as an entrepreneur, you have to be incredibly adaptable. Like part of the reason, again, why I'm unsettled right now is because we are adapting right now. We're in that process of adapting right now. And we need to be world class at adapting because startups are all about survival of the fittest. I think it's a false question to ask, like, how do you stop it? Because in the last couple of years, like during the worst of the pandemic and then the year following the worst of the pandemic, 2020 and 2021, there were more small businesses created in the United States than at any other point in history. I actually think that what's happening with generative AI is going to be the biggest job creation engine in history and the biggest startup creation engine in history, because the cost of doing really hard things and the limits of your imagination because of those hard things now are there's very different bounds. Like one of the things that I was terrified of in Austin is, I've been here a long time. And when Austin Ventures, kind of imploded, I thought, how are we going to replace $1 billion fund in Austin? How fast will that happen? It happened much faster than I thought, which was great. There's like tons of VCs now. There's tons of capital that moved in. It created lots of opportunity, and it created a real explosion of startups in Austin, which is the best scenario possible. And although it is true that like a lot of jobs are, like if you think about engineering, just take engineering for a moment, you're going to need to hire less incremental engineers. You're not going to go cut a bunch of engineers. I mean, it's better to have your engineers now much more productive. But you're going to hire less incremental engineers over time because each one is going to be so much more productive. But what does that free up? That frees up a lot of people to go and use the limitless imagination they have to dream up some new business. And then they make that move. It starts to get revenue traction. They start hiring people. And then maybe on a per unit basis, they hire less people for each startup, but it creates so much more opportunity. So to ask this question of how do you contain it, or this whole nonsense of the 6-month moratorium, is like saying, hey, we want to actually suppress society from the biggest productivity tool in the history of society, which is only possible because all of these things converge.